Her wheelchair wasn't a symbol of weakness. It had become her battleground, her territory of resiliency where she learned not just how to move, but how to survive. The sun lay heavy over the fields of Oak Creek High, painting long shadows across the ground. It was the kind of afternoon that should have been peaceful, almost poetic. Sarah Jenkins moved along the familiar path that led home from the library, the small hum of her wheelchair filling the silence. A worn backpack hung loosely from the handles, swaying with every bump on the pavement. She still wore that faded blue basketball jersey, the one she refused to give away. It was a thread to a different life, a life where her legs worked, where the sound of bouncing balls echoed through gym walls, where the loudest thing she ever heard was a crowd cheering her name. That jersey wasn't a memory. It was a promise that somewhere inside her, the fighter still lived. Buddy trotted beside her, a proud, loyal German shepherd. His ears flicked with alertness, his leash just a loose connection, never a restraint. He didn't just walk with her, he watched the world for her. He guarded what was left of her peace. But the peace didn't last. The first crack in that quiet afternoon was laughter. Not the joyful kind, the cruel kind. Sharp, mocking, hungry. From behind the brick building, they appeared. Jake, Derek, Leo. Varsity jackets, worn like thrones. Walks like they owned the land. Eyes like they wanted to own people, too. Sarah felt it before they even spoke. That silent dread that crawls up your spine when danger arrives before reason does. Well, look at that, Jake sneered. Princess and her little guard dog. She kept her eyes forward, hands steady on the joystick. Just passing through. Oh, don't let us stop you. Derek smirked, stepping directly into her path. Books fell from her backpack as her chair halted suddenly. Buddy growled a low, rumbling warning that vibrated through the air. Jake chuckled. Maybe the dog needs some training. Leave us alone, Sarah said. Not weak, not pleading, just tired. So tired. But cruelty doesn't listen, it performs. Leo faked a fierce scream when Buddy barked. He's rabid. That was the moment, the one where everything changed. Jake pulled the gun. He didn't aim at her, he aimed at Buddy. The first shot tore into the grass beside him. The second shot struck his shoulder. The third shot dropped him. Sarah screamed a sound no one should ever have to make. The sound of watching your last piece of safety bleed out on the ground. She tried to reach him, but they grabbed her chair, yanked it back, nearly tipping it over. She clawed at the arms of her wheelchair, desperate, crying, begging. Derek's hand went to her throat. He didn't choke to kill, he choked to control. Tears ran down her face, not because she was afraid to die, but because the only soul that had never given up on her was lying in a pool of blood, struggling for breath. And no one was coming, or so she thought. 100 yards away, Staff Sergeant Mark Rios was running. His breathing was steady, his pace controlled until his eyes caught the scene unfolding. The choking, the bleeding dog, the shaking girl in the wheelchair, the gun. He didn't shout, he didn't warn, he didn't think, he acted. His fist connected with Derek's temple, a single, sharp, surgical strike. Derek collapsed instantly, Sarah falling into a fit of gasping breaths. Her lungs finally allowed to live. Leo tried to run, he didn't make it 2 steps. Mark dragged him down, and one swift strike knocked the air from his body. Jake tried to raise the gun. Mark didn't flinch. You point a weapon at me, he said, calm and terrifying. You better know how to use it. Do you? Jake hesitated. The gun dipped. That was enough. The weapon was gone from his hand before he could blink. His wrist snapped. Pain made him crumble. And then, there was silence. Not peace. Silence. The kind that comes after a storm when the world tries to settle but the soul cannot. Mark didn't look at the bullies again. He turned to Sarah, pale, trembling, staring at him like he wasn't real. Are you hurt? My dog? A broken bar. No hesitation. He was already beside Buddy, pressing bandages, using his torn t-shirt, his belt, his training, fighting off death with nothing but skill and desperation. Stay with me, Buddy. Stay with me, soldier. Because he understood. Loyalty is a language only the brave speak. The sirens came. The handcuffs clicked. Papers fluttered like broken wings through the grass. But all Sarah saw was a man holding her bleeding dog together, whispering to him like he mattered. He did. Buddy lived, barely. Emergency surgery, blood transfusions, weeks of recovery. But he lived. And so did she. Not just survived, lived. The world called Mark a hero. He refused. He said heroes are the ones who show up when it matters, even when they're shaking, even when they're scared, even when they're on 4 legs instead of 2. He said real strength doesn't always walk, sometimes it rolls forward and keeps fighting anyway. Months passed. Buddy walked again, with a limp, but with pride. Sarah laughed again, not because her world was easy, but because it finally felt safe. And every so often, on quiet afternoons, Mark would visit. Not because she needed saving, but because some bonds are not built with promises, they are built with rescue. And they do not break. No one talks about what happens after survival, after hospitals, after courts, after pain. No one talks about the silence that follows, a not peaceful silence, a broken bar but hollow silence, the kind that echoes. That's where Sarah found herself. She was safe. Buddy was safe. Justice was served. And he ate a broken bar, night after night. She woke up sweating, her heart pounding in her ears, reaching into the darkness and never certain if the gunshot was real this time, or just living in her mind. Trauma doesn't always scream. Sometimes, it whispers. And when it does, it crawls into the parts of you that no injury, no bully, no weapon could ever reach. Her body had healed, but her spirit hadn't. She sat on the porch one morning, a warm blanket around her legs, Buddy sleeping beside her, his fur patched, his limp permanent, but his calmness absolute. She watched him breathe, slow and steady, peaceful. How? She wondered, how was he able to rest, while she still shook without warning? That was the moment she finally broke. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly. Her shoulders softened, her eyes filled, and she whispered into the morning air, "I don't think I'm okay." A broken bar. She didn't expect anyone to hear, but someone did, a voice from behind. "You're not supposed to be okay." "Not yet." She turned. Mark stood at the edge of the porch, not in uniform, not as a rescuer, just as a man who understood. He didn't sit next to her. He sat near her, not too close, not too far, just enough for her to feel a broken bar, not alone. They didn't talk about what happened. They didn't talk about the trial, or the gun, or the bruises that had healed. They talked about a broken bar, breathing, how the body forgets it's safe, even when it is, how healing doesn't mean forgetting, it means remembering differently, how strength isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's the courage to say, "I'm not okay." Buddy stretched, dragging his bandaged paw across the porch, and rested his head on Sarah's lap. Mark smiled lightly. "He's not afraid of remembering," he said, "because he trusts what came after." Sarah swallowed hard. "What came after?" "Safety," Mark said. "And after that, love. And after that, life." The tears didn't fall like before, not sharp, not taking. They came softly, like rain that knows its place. Healing, not hurting. She didn't thank him. She didn't have to. Because some people don't walk into your life to save you from danger. They arrive to show you that after danger, a broken bar, there is still life. Weeks turned into months. The world returned to its passenger cars, routines, seasons. But something had changed. Not around her. Within her, she was learning to exist again. Not just safely, but softly. She read more, sat outside more, let sunlight touch her without flinching. Let laughter come back, not because things were perfect, a broken bar, but because things were possible. She didn't become fearless. She became gentle, and strangely, a gentle felt stronger than fearless ever had. One evening, as winter began to fade, she wheeled herself to the same field where it all happened. Not to relive it, to reclaim it. Mark met her there, walking slow beside Buddy, who now wore a small service harness, proud as ever. No one spoke for a while. Wind moved through winter grass. The sky shifted from gold to blue. "Does it still hurt?" he asked finally. "Yes," she said. "But now a broken bar, it doesn't own me." They didn't smile, but something softer than a smile passed between them. Something like peace, the kind that doesn't erase pain. It sits beside it, and stays.